Morning, Raptor Freak Alexiad, Saturday morning. The Raptors beat the Rockets last night after being down by 24 points at one point. They had their third biggest comeback from a deficit ever in the history of the franchise last night, which was something we didn't expect going into the game last night. I think that they just wanted a challenge or something. I don't know why, but you know what? Give credit to Houston for they only have 2 games left going into last night, and they don't have anything to play for. So these youngsters came out, and they came out with a ball of energy, specifically Kevin Porter Jr. and that Christopher kid and Tate. They were really, really trying really hard to make a good impression and try and steal a game because they're really not playing for anything at this point. It's like play out these last couple regular season games and try and get some wins or get some good feelings for their young players, and they came out with ball energy, and we just didn't match that energy correctly. And Courtney Kirkland, as the crew chief last night of the refs, he really is the kind of guy that rewards the team that is putting out the best effort and stuff, and we just weren't doing that. So it was very interesting that the Raptors gave themselves a challenge and a hill to climb, and some stuff they had to overcome. But once again, we see that our team is something special, that it doesn't matter if they get down by a lot of points. They are a team that's able to control and do major, amazing things as the game goes on, as far as improving or anything like that. Like they could be very, very bad in the first quarter and be a completely different team in the second quarter, just like that. And that's kind of what happened last night. I mean, they let Houston scores so many points in the first quarter. Once again, 36 first quarter points for Houston. We only had 20, and that was a really bad deficit. But then in the second quarter, we got 37 points, and the score was a little bit more manageable. But still, going into the fourth quarter, we were down by 10. And that's just those are challenges and tough things. We gotta play tighter, obviously, against bigger, better teams. But also, it's kind of cool and interesting that we can kind of like manage throughout the game and kind of get it in the right place and just do the right things as it goes to kind of make it get to the right place by the end of the game also. But yeah, they won't do this against teams like Milwaukee or Boston. If they play them, they won't allow that kind of stuff to happen. They'll have a good high energy. So it is kind of a weird, like, we play down the team sometimes and like don't take them as seriously, and then they punch us in the face, and then we're like, okay, yeah, we got to take them seriously and stuff like that. That kind of feeling of what happened last night once again. But thank goodness we were able to come back and not let Houston have some sort of moral victory or some sort of good feeling. They have one more game, so maybe they can go and win that game and feel good about their season that way, but not against us. And now everything's still set up for us to possibly flip into the fourth seed over Philadelphia. But Philly does have to lose their game today and their game tomorrow, and we have to win in New York. But it's all still on track for that. It's not very likely. It's very likely that we're going to just sit where we are in the fifth and face Philadelphia, because already, just because of the games in the last couple of days, Milwaukee is pretty much eliminated from being possibly our first round opponent, which a lot of people are pretty happy about that. So it's really like a 75%, 80% chance we're going to play Philadelphia in the first round. And there's a very smaller chance that we might play Boston. But I really think it's going to be Philly. That it's all lining up and going to probably figure its way out that way by tomorrow night when the season's finally over. All right, Seymour's here, and yes, you are first this morning, Mr. Pape. COVID update. I got up this morning. I feel awful again. I felt a lot better yesterday, but today I woke up and I'm having really severe body aches and just congestion now. I'm actually getting congested in my nose, which I haven't really had that much this week. So yeah, I'm still battling that COVID, drinking lots of good juice and getting vitamin C and just laying down for most of the day today. Hopefully, I'll feel even better tomorrow, but we'll see. Yeah, so last night, a lot of fun, and I enjoyed watching the game, even though it was scary, even though it was kind of like, they're down by 24 to the Rockets, it's kind of like, it's still, I'm kind of like, yeah, we can still beat them, because it really will take just one quarter to really kind of come back and beat them because of the way they are. It's just how it is. Seymour saying, you will be fine. You got that Raptors blood. I believe in you. I love that, Seymour. Yeah. Yeah. I've got that purple blood in my veins. It's just like, it's kind of alien. I don't know. But yeah, last night was fun and really interesting in a couple different ways. Like, I really like who closed out the game for us last night. Like in the clutch minutes of the game, because this game was close. We only won by 2 points. And, we had to do some game management last night to get ourselves to the victory. And there was no Fred VanVleet out there for the whole night. So that's an interesting thing to deal with when you don't have Fred out there, because he really is steady Freddy in clutch situations and really helping us manage the game possession wise, making sure we have like a 4-point cushion, which is a 2-possession lead, those kind of things, stuff like that. And it was really the guy who was directing things in some ways last night was Scotty and Gary. Those two guys were really the big clutch guys in the last 5 minutes of the game, the guys who kind of took over. Scotty got the go-ahead basket, that steal and dunk. And then Gary hitting some major important three-pointers and really important shots in the lane, especially that one right at the end with the 4 seconds left to go in the game. Gary hitting the game winner. And this is something I saw in his DNA last year when we traded to get him for Norman Powell. When he first showed up on Toronto, he was aloof and kind of quiet. I was like, I don't totally understand Gary. He's a little bit of an enigma. And he showed signs of clutch factor when he hit like a buzzer beater shot, in one game. I think it was against Washington last year in the regular season, and won the game for us. And I was like, this dude's going to be able to do this for us. That this guy is the kind of guy that has worked so hard on his game that he wants that pressure situation. That's what he said after the game last night. He's like, you dream about being in those situations. You dream about being able to take the big shot to win the game for your team at the end of the game. And he's not afraid to do it. And I really like how he's not pigeonholed to be just a 3-point shooter, like a 3-point specialist, that's the only way that he can do it. That like the shot that he won the game on was a teardrop runner towards the basket, and he got a really nice bounce. It's really cool to see Scotty and Gary have such great shooters bounces, like Kawhi's shot, the famous shot against Philadelphia, because that really shows that the way that the ball's coming off their hands when they're throwing it is just the right English, the right spin, so that if it doesn't totally cleanly go into the rim, it's going to go around and maybe hopefully bounce and fall in. And there were a couple of shots like that Scotty shot at the top of the key, just above the free throw line. That shot had a really nice shooter's bounce that rolled it in. And then Gary with the last shot of the game that won us the game was a similar kind of thing. And that's awesome. Like, I love seeing Gary being so confident. And like the announcer said, this is normally something that a 6-year vet or somebody who's been in the league has more guts and balls to do. And the fact that it's our 20-year-old rookie and then a guy like Gary Trent Jr., who's not that long into his NBA career, or showing up and doing clutch stuff in the final minutes is really, really awesome. And Gary was awesome. In his after-game interview, he said when we were down by 24, it was unacceptable, and that they had to go out there and make a change in a whole thing that happened. So very cool stuff. Let's see how people are reacting this morning. Tom Duke is here. Good morning, Tom. Raptors win. Ben Franklin is insane for starting that bottle rocket war. Our mascot was stunned initially, but took away the win. Woohoo! Yeah, Tom Duke, I'm going to make the mascot matchup story tomorrow pretty fun. And obviously, you can tell Ben Franklin is going to be around us for a couple of weeks because he is basically the 76ers. And we're going to have to play them a few times, it looks like. So Ben Franklin's storyline will be continuing. This will be the frenemy buddy pal story of the year here. The Raptor and Ben Franklin. I was thinking more about that real mascot matchup that I made up yesterday with the Waffle House and the fireworks war. And I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I mean, I can't blame COVID on messing my brain up to make that kind of stuff up. But yeah, the firework war is going to be fun. The conclusion of it, it may look a little bit like a Looney Tune by the end of it with the explosion. Yeah, so good. Jimmy Pope's here. Good to see you, Jimmy. I'm really hoping Scotty gets Rookie of the Year, but at the end of the day, he'll be the one balling in the playoffs. Yeah, that's a great way of keep in perspective on this. Like, I think that he's got it. Come on, NBA. Look at what he did last night. Like, he was probably one of the most important guys to help us win this game last night. He was making huge shots. Once again, in the first half, he was 1 for 5 and he didn't have any points. He had that really brilliant play to start the game. And I really love what he did in that very first play of the game, where he kind of hedged and acted like he was going to hand it off to Armani Brooks when he was coming across the top, and he just turned the corner and went right around him and laid it in instead, his defender. That was a badass veteran kind of like trick play. That was a trick play, and it was so cool to see. This is the thing. Houston has no interior defense, and I didn't understand why we weren't just pounding them down below. Like, Scotty should have been getting fed the ball, and he should have been just killing them down low every which way, because they had nobody down there. We saw Pascal get that easy dunk running right through the lane, where that great pass when he cut and he dunked it, and some goon was like nowhere near him. He wasn't even trying to come and stop him. He just like dunked it. So, the Houston Rockets are bad. Yeah, they're bad. They've got some talented baller kind of guys that can really ball and hit crazy shots and do stuff like that. But organizationally wise, their team has no rhyme or reason, and they have a lot of issues. Like, that team has a lot of issues. So let's see, Tom. Yeah, but also let me get back to what Jimmy Pope said. That's the thing. If he doesn't win Rookie of the Year and he does really well in the playoffs and he looks really good, that is something in itself. That, like, he's balling out in the playoffs. And I agree with you. That's a great perspective to have it. And hopefully, like I said, if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year, knock on wood, I hope he does. I really think he will. He takes it out on the league, that he gets like, you know what, you pissed me off, and now you're going to see my wrath. And that may be what happens. Oh my gosh. Tom Duke saying, I had to take off yesterday, came home and saw you went 3 hours, even being injured. You got cuts. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I was hurting afterwards. I actually had to lay down afterwards for a while because I was so, like, my back was so messed up. And I rewatched it, and I watched it at like 1.75 speed to see if you could actually understand me. And it was crazy. I'm like a chipmunk. I'm like, but it's like so weird and to watch it at so fast a speed. But yeah, I had fun yesterday, even though it felt like one of these games where Pascal plays like 45 minutes and he lays it all on the court. That's how I felt about my stream yesterday. I really left it all out on the screen yesterday for sure. But I appreciate that, Tom. Tom's saying Yuta played 12 minutes and was the difference maybe. Can't win in the first quarter, can in the second, not in the third, but you can win in the fourth quarter with Yuta. I was so happy to see the different bench guys get different opportunities at different time. And Yuta specifically, he played the entire fourth quarter last night. And that was a lot of trust, and Nick Nurse showed in him that, he could have yanked him halfway through that fourth quarter at any point and brought in more regular core guys, but he wanted to let him ride and get that good feeling going. And I'll tell you right now, Yuta's stats weren't super impressive, but it doesn't really tell you exactly what he did out there in the 12 minutes that he was out there, because there was a lot of challenging at the hoop, whether it was him challenging somebody else or them challenging him. And he was really upset that he missed that dunk. He said that dunk that he took was not blocked. He missed it. That's what he said in his press conference afterwards, that he was upset with himself because that's something that he should have just made. And it wasn't the defender like hit him or did anything like that. He just missed the dunk. But he did have that one play where he got a three-point play, which was badass. And that was his first score and only score, really, was the one where he caught them off guard, got to the basket, made the basket, and then he also got the free throw, which was badass. I was really happy to see him get a three-point play last night. And then, there were other things that he did out there, just activity-wise, just kind of being active, getting all over the place, not hurting us on defense, just doing a lot of good stuff. And you could see the joy and the big, huge smile on his face just from being out there and getting a little bit of redemption, showing, yes, I fit in and I can be a contributing member to the Toronto Raptors and not hurt us. And he really did do that. like as far as his role off the bench last night. He did a good job, but the other guys, man, they stunk it up. And Nick Nurse really kind of like let him, like, was saying some things after the game. He's saying, I'm not happy at all with what the bench unit did last night and what happened when they came in. And he's specifically talking about the guys who had horrible minuses last night. And there's three in particular. It's Malachi, Precious, and Chris. All three of those guys, when they were out there, they let the Rockets absolutely run all over us. And that was really bad. That was what built that 24-point lead, was that end of the fourth quarter, beginning of the second quarter, when we brought these bench guys in. Malachi had a big fail last night. Like, as much as I'm rooting for him, he got the 4-point play in the game before against Philly. Last night, he was bad. He had a wide open three at one point. When he missed it, you could tell. It's like, oh my gosh, you really needed to make that one, Malachi. He had the one nice layup move that he made and scored off of. But other than that, there wasn't really a whole lot to like about what Malachi did last night, which is unfortunate because we needed him to show some consistency and some confidence in what he can do out there. And we didn't see it last night. The other two guys, I'm not as worried about. Like, they just dogged it in some ways on defense. I don't know. Precious wasn't a good matchup against the Houston team last night. He only played 12 minutes and he was a minus 28. And that's really bad. But he did get some points, 8 points. He hit all three of his free throws, which I want to give him major credit for. Hitting all three of your free throws, Precious, that's badass. And thank you, because, like, I want to see you do that. And that was actually a huge factor last night, is the free throws. We only missed one free throw last night. That was Pascal, one of his 6 free throws he missed. And we made every single one of them, and we won by 2 points. So if we had been bad at the free throw line last night, we might have lost this game. So I'm really happy that the guys shot really well at the free throw line last night. That was a huge difference and could have lost us the game if we had been shooting as we usually do at the free throw line. We shot really well there last night. It was really good. Let's keep going. Let me see what y'all are saying. I see you guys have filled it up a bit here. We'll make sure we get all the comments. Jimmy Pope saying this draft class is so good. Yeah, that Sengun guy is another one from this draft class, and he has some pretty good potential. I think he's kind of goofy still, and like his name, Some Goon. I want to call him Some Goon. Like, you're some goon, man. But like, he's still, to me, he seems kind of light, or like not a very physicality kind of player. Like, he seems like he's a finesse kind of player and stuff like that. That may hurt them in some ways down the road, as far as like him not being a very physical kind of center for what they might need to do to have a good defensive team. Because that guy basically was like Aaron Baines kind of defense last night for them. Like, we really could have done anything going to the basket, and we did end up winning the points in the paint and stuff like that. And, I'm not that impressed with him. And then Jalen Green, like, there's another one of these rookies in this rookie thing. But to me, he's a kind of like an all sizzle, no steak kind of player. Like, yeah, he can do really cool plays and like do really highlight kind of film stuff for ESPN's top 10 and shit like that. But he's not a winning basketball kind of player. That's the way I look at it. There's some guys that are just like that. They're great highlight reels, but they don't help you win games. They're just kind of like, and I feel like Jalen Green is kind of like that, and with his hype and stuff like that. Yeah, he shot 3 for 10 last night, only 8 points. I thought he was supposed to be one of their main guys. It was really Kevin Porter Jr. was phenomenal for them. He came out with a vicious kind of agenda to come out there and wreck the Raptors. And he shot 12 for 23, 7 for 7 at the free throw line, 4 and 9 from 3-point, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 35 points. Kevin Porter Jr. Yeah, he was absolutely killing us. I did not like that at all. But yeah, what a great draft class, Jimmy. I totally agree with this. This is going to be something, and that's why it's going to be a real testament to Scotty when he wins this Rookie of the Year, because there's so many good candidates. But they really, really need to start giving it, just give it to him. Because seriously, NBA, like Nick Nurse said in his press conference before the game yesterday, his pregame press conference, he said most rookies are just struggling to keep their head above the water. at this point in the season. In some ways, they're saying like mercy, or they're like looking forward to the end of the season because it's such a grind. It's so much more playing than they're used to from college or any other part of their career and stuff like that. But no, not this dude. This dude's not fading. In fact, Scotty's getting stronger when everybody else is kind of fading down. And that needs to be a huge factor in the NBA Rookie of the Year voting body, their minds. They need to think about this and realize that when everybody else is starting to falter, starting to pack it up for the season, kind of like, Scotty's going even harder. And Scotty's going even harder at the end of the game and showing dominance and helping his team win in important games that are crucial for the playoff race and seeding and things like that. I know Houston's not the biggest, baddest opponent, but still, the fact that he was one of the two guys on the Raptors last night directing us towards the win with baskets and just great play in the last couple minutes of the game is really, really telling and important for Rookie of the Year voters to look at. That he's making a huge difference, and that win last night doesn't happen without Scotty Barnes doing the things that he does, and they need to realize that. Seymour Pape saying Coach Nurse was great. The calls were bonkers. I would have been teed up, but Nurse was cool last night. Yeah, the calls were a little funky. They're a little weird. We were lazy and lackadaisical at the beginning of the game, and they're not going to give us any favor when we're playing like that. They're going to help the other team in different ways. And Courtney Kirkland's a hard ass. I'm decided this, that like out of the 20-year vets, he is a tough dude. And you got to really kind of show that you're working hard for him to give you some favor. Now, the calls came around more during the game as they went. Like Pascal started getting more respect and getting to the line and things like that. And, it was weird. I don't want to say that the refs were too much of a factor in the game last night, but they were in the beginning. But we overcame it all. We had to. We had to prove that this isn't who we are, losing to the Rockets by 24 points and stuff like that. And we did it. We came back. We showed the important balance of good defense and then getting our offense going in the right kind of ways also. But yeah, Nick Nurse was getting really frustrated. And it was a difficult game in some ways, but also kind of like in some ways I was also like, this is the Rockets, y'all. I don't care how much we're down by. By the end of the game, we're going to win because it's just like they're that bad. When you see a team that has 20 wins and 60 losses, they figured out 60 ways to lose a game. And we just gave them 61 ways last night. I hope they I kind of hope they win their last game of the season because I want to see that they worked so hard last night. I'd like to see that dog get one bone right before the end of the season. So before they go in the off season, those youngsters on the Rockets. I don't know why, because I don't care for that franchise and I don't really like any of their players. But because of the way they played last night and they lost to us, I kind of feel like I want them to win their last game just so they leave on a good note for the season, kind of thing. But yeah, Nick Nurse was being tested last night for sure. And I really love how in the last 5 minutes of the game, Nick coaches and like he's got a real confidence to him in his team that they will execute and do the right things in clutch important times in the game, that he kind of just sits there. He's sitting there like this next to Drake sitting there next to him. And he's down on his knees squatting and he's just like kind of watching it go down and good things happen. And I love that. He's very, very smart about how he gets his team up and going and combinations of trying to find the right people to be on the court last night. He had to switch it around a few times. And I'm really happy that the combination that included Yuta was very successful in the fourth quarter. We were down by 10 going in the fourth quarter and we outscored them by 12 in the fourth quarter. And that you do the math, we beat them by 2. And that's, that's tight and scary against a bad team like that. But all that matters is that W, baby. And we got it. We're at 48 wins for the season. We win tomorrow. We get a 49-win NBA season this year, which is way better than anybody thought. That's like 14 games better than the 35 they thought we were going to get this year, which is fantastic. So good. Duke Rocks is saying 76ers today at 1 p.m. We'll know if Suns-Knicks games has any benefit for fourth. I have a feeling we'll send a B squad to New York and Champagne will start. I think that what's going to happen is tomorrow we're going to have everybody because the layoff is so long between Sunday and next Saturday. We don't play in the first round until Saturday next week. So that's 6 days off. And he's already said he's playing Fred and OG tomorrow. Like those guys are both going to be in the lineup tomorrow for sure. And maybe they don't play Pascal or something like that because he just played. But this is the thing. He talked to them all yesterday. It's like, who wants to play? Who doesn't want to play? And all these guys wanted to play. We heard during the live stream that Precious was game time decision. Well, the game time decision was, I want to play, coach, because we're enjoying it and we want to play. We're not LeBron. We're not going to sit out just because we can sit out. We want to keep going. These guys wanted to keep going. And the only guys who sat out last night were Fred, OG, and Isaac Bonga in the end. Everybody else played last night in the game against Houston, which is a game I thought they were going to rest most of them. So I don't think this is going to happen, actually. I think that they're going to all show up, at least the ones, like even Fred and OG are going to show up tomorrow because that's what he said. He's been saying the last couple of days that he expects OG to play tomorrow just to get that last game tune-up. Fred's missed the last few games, so he wants to get a tune-up also. It may be that we see Pascal sit, or somebody else. I don't think Scotty will sit because Scotty's got Rookie of the Year work to do. But who knows? These guys, that's the thing. That's their attitude. They're like, we don't want to sit, coach. We want to keep playing. We want to get in these reps. Every game is important, as Gary Trent put it last night. He said that we want these reps. We want to keep in our rhythm, and we want to keep going. We don't want to sit. We're not LeBron James. We're not these lazy old guys that want to sit out games at the end of the year because we're young and we are eager and we want to keep going. So it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to play them, which is very interesting. And yeah, these games today, the game today, Philadelphia at 1:00, hopefully they lose. And then they lose tomorrow also. So Coach Casey, do us a solid. I know they're playing Indiana today, and then they play Casey tomorrow. So the Indiana game will tell us right away. Indiana's kind of a mess, and Philadelphia probably will beat them. And then that'll just change it right there. It'll be Philadelphia home court advantage, number 4, and Raptors, number 5 seed. And that is great. That is great. I mean, listen, our preseason predictions were 4th for the Raptors, and they're going to get 5th. That's badass, and that's really good. That means that we were more correct than the people that said we wouldn't even make the playoffs. That the people like me that were saying they were going to get in the 4th or higher seed we were more accurate than those other people that thought they wouldn't even make it. And that's badass. I love it. Justin will not be starting in the game tomorrow. And this is the whole reason why is because they're playing at the same time. The 9:05 game is at 7:00 against it's the Delaware Blue Coats. They're actually going to be playing the Philadelphia G League for the Eastern Conference Finals in the G League. It's going to be Raptors 9:05 versus Delaware Blue Coats 7:00 tomorrow night also. So they're gonna be here in Mississauga. Delano, Justin Champagny, Isaac Bonga, everybody who's done stuff with the 9:05 because they're going to be trying to get that championship. Meanwhile, the main squad will be in New York at Madison Square Garden, and they're both playing at the same time again. I hate that. You know, Jack and Matt were talking last night during the telecast, and normally in New York on a Sunday, they may have a matinee time, like a game around 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. Eastern. But no, they're playing at 7:00, and that's exactly the same time that they tip off at Mississauga for the 9:05's Eastern Conference Finals playoff matchup. And that's a one and done too. So they need to beat Delaware, put the Sixers G League team out, and then get to the finals. They'll have a best of 3 after that. So yeah, that's what's going on tomorrow with the scheduling. All the 9:05 guys will be here in Mississauga, and the main team will be in New York. All right, let's see. Seymour saying at Tom Dugan, it was really good to see Yuta out there. Yeah, so good and nice to see him smiling and get out there and compete. And once again, he's absolutely reckless with his body and his reputation, whether it's like he's going to get blocked or he's trying to go and block somebody on a dunk. He's just this really weird confrontational guy at the rim. And it's so weird because you wouldn't think it would be him, but it's just his guts. It's his heart. It's his bravery. It's so crazy. Like, you were crazy, you to get in between guys in the hoop like that. but I have to have so much respect and love for him for it also. And it was really heartwarming to see it happen. And it's like, he's had such a bad year in some ways because we expected him to be rotation and important and key player and stuff like that. I hope because of what he did last night and not screwing up our defense and playing really sound and doing key things and helping out, that Nick will use him in the playoffs and actually use him. Unlike he did in the regular season, like get him out there and get him in little stints there where you need another cutter, somebody who's moving off the ball that Scotty can hit with passes, going to the basket, or just another guy who can kind of shoot the three from the corner, or just somebody who's going to be active as far as like getting on the boards, going after and getting after loose balls, and just getting up and down the court. And that's Yuta Watanabe. And we need that kind of energy sometimes. And that was a really good influx into our comeback last night was Yuta playing in the fourth quarter. It was so good to see. So good to see. So heartwarming. Honestly. Yeah, really, really good stuff. Duke's saying, how the heck did I type Suns? Too early in the morning for me. Hey, listen, I'm out of it too, Duke. I'm just like, my brain is half mush. And I'm definitely playing hurt right now. I definitely am. Let's see. Tom Duke saying, I didn't realize till his presser that dunk was just a miss. Yeah, I didn't either. It looked like the player, the Rocket got it, but it was just he missed the dunk and he admitted it. You didn't necessarily have to admit it. We all thought that you got blocked. But maybe that's him saving face. No, I didn't get blocked. I just missed the dunk. So yeah, that was interesting. And the Japanese media had a field day last night. There were like 4 or 5 Japanese reporters that got to ask questions, and it was just a happy thing to see you to get a lot of time, an important time, and time in a win, in a close win, and stuff like that. That is all really good. And I wish the confidence building of that for Yuta could have been something similar for even Malachi or even Armani. Armani got the start yesterday against his former team, and he didn't use that opportunity as well as I would have liked last night. He was out, only got 15 minutes, even as a starter. And 0 for 3 from the field, missed all 3 of his 3-point shots, only 2 points at the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, but really, nothing that like made him stand out. Same thing with Malachi. They both kind of yesterday. It's too bad. It's too bad. Tom Duke saying Nick Nurse was happy to be able to talk to Takeshi. Loved the banter between our coach and our reporters. Yes. There's a lot of fun stuff in there. Nick is a really good interview because he's loose usually. He's fun. He pokes a little fun, talks a little bit with them about their own like personal stuff just for fun. Yeah, it's just badass. It's just fun. The media scrums for the Raptors players are pretty interesting and fun. Like, I really love that Yuta was wearing the Scotty Barnes Rookie of the Year shirt. And he was like, they were asking him, like, where did you get that? He's like, oh, I found it in the locker room and I just put it on because I thought it looked cool. He just took the shirt and he's like wearing that badass shirt that we've seen the last couple of days. The designer made this kind of like the old Vince Carter Slam article, the Slam magazine, like from way back, and it's Scotty and Rookie of the Year. It's Rookie of the Year campaign material, and I love that Yuta was wearing it at the end of the game in the press conference to promote his teammate for Rookie of the Year. So cool of him, so good. Duke Rocks is saying not just the Raps making a comeback, Jay's comeback was amazing. I heard something about that they were down by 7 and then they ended up coming back and winning their opening game of the season. Fantastic stuff, Blue Jays. I root for the Blue Jays pretty hard. I don't pay as close attention to them as I do the Raptors, but I actually, it's a weird thing, my relationship with the Blue Jays. I found that whenever I watch Blue Jays games, they start losing. So I ignore them on purpose as a fan because whenever I watch them, they lose. But when I don't watch them, they do okay and they're winning and they do all right. So it's kind of like I have to watch them as a highlight reel later and just to see how they're doing. But I won't watch them in real time when they're actually playing because I'm bad luck for them apparently. Because I've noticed that. Even when I go to games, I went to one game last season and they lost to Detroit pretty bad. And I'm like, I can't go to games. I can't watch them because I'm bad for them. So that's just superstition on my part. But I definitely root for them. I've been a huge Blue Jays fan since I was a child, a baby. because my little brother's actually just had his birthday the other day. We were talking about it last Thursday, and this past Thursday, 2 days ago, and he was born on the day the Blue Jays started, April the 7th, 1977. That my brother is a Blue Jays baby. So that's, there's a whole connection about the Blue Jays and us. And I used to go to games when I was a little kid. I remember going and see George Bell and Dave Steve and Ernie Witt and Tony Fernandez in the old exhibition stadium out in the middle of that parking lot where the BMO is now. Yeah, I remember going to games there, and I saw people like them play the Oakland A's with Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire and stuff like that. Those old days, like 80s MLB. Yeah, I have a good relationship with the Blue Jays, and I really want them to win too. And I was really happy to hear that they came back. And I think the Leafs did okay this week too, or something in their last game too, because Stevie Roots was going on about how all his teams are winning right now. He's like, life is good as a sports fan in Toronto, is what he's saying. All right, let's see. Seymour Pape saying Alperen Sungun named Turkish BSL 2020-21 season MVP. He's only 19 or something like that. I don't know. I'm not real big on him. To me, he's kind of smacks of kind of like a hybrid between Andrea Bargnani and Rafa Araujo. So if that makes any sense to you, that I don't know why I get Araujo vibes from him. I kind of get a little bit of like, well, maybe he's a Bargnani kind of player or something like that. I don't know. If he's a Bargnani, that's better for him. But don't be an Araujo, some goon. Oh my gosh. Tom Duke saying, are we all Pacer fans for the day? I don't know. I like the Pacers somewhat. Like, it's the kind of thing where you want these teams to have some like bright spot on the way out. Like the Pacers, I feel bad for them. They've had a really bad season. They traded some key players away this season, and they are in a rebuild for sure. So yeah, we would like to have home court advantage, and the Pacers have to win for that to happen. So yeah, we are Pacer fans today for sure. Tom Duke saying would be awesome if they spanked JoJo and the Sixers. JoJo and the Sixers. JoJo and the Sixers. I don't think that's a good band name. Yeah, that would be good. I'd like that. York Baller's here. Hey guys. Hey, York Baller, good to see you. It's Saturday morning. We beat the Rockets. Thank God we didn't lose that game. That was going to be silly if we lost that game last night. Crazy comeback. So is the resiliency, the professionalism of the Toronto Raptors team to take things seriously. It's like Gary said after the game, he said this was unacceptable and he needed to change it. And he did. Boy, did he. Gary was really cool actually last night. 9 of 21 is not the best percentage, but 5 of 8 for 3 is great. And 26 points. He was basically all of our 3-pointers last night. We got like 2 other threes, one from Precious, one from Justin, and then it was all Gary as far as 3-point shots last night. And that's crazy. Like usually we have a bunch of guys hitting some threes here and there. It's too, it is what it is. Kareem Thomas is here. Good to see Kareem. One of the funniest people who come in here. Let's see what he's saying. The past 2 nights, the Raptors did the classic rope-a-dope and watched these guys punch themselves out. I was a bit skeptical about our home games, but now we are officially back. Yeah, Kareem, this has been a stretch. These last 10 games with having 8 games at home has been really important. Now we finished those games at home, and what did we do out of the 8? We got 7 of them, 7-1 in the last 8 games at home. Our home record for the season is actually really good. And if you think about it, you're right, Kareem. Think about it at the beginning of the season, what our home record was like. We had a losing home record. We actually had a winning road record all the way until winning road record, but a losing home record pretty much until December the 2nd or something. When they always talk about that date as being when we really turned it on and started winning at a better clip for the whole season. Because those first 2 months of the regular season this year, we were having trouble. We were having different troubles. Pascal wasn't back. We were having a lot of injuries, and we were losing at home and losing more at home than we were winning. And that was a real big concern of mine too. And then later in the season, losing the 2 games against Orlando and Detroit at home, that was really bad also. So I was like, what the fuck is wrong with our home advantage? So it was really in these last 10 games of the season that we wanted to work on getting the home court advantage correct again. And part of it was just getting the crowd right and in that right energy. Like last night was a playoff energy. And I love Friday night crowds in the Scotiabank Arena because those people come with some energy and they're ready to party. And if good things start happening, like Scotty Dunk or something like this, they get up and they get crazy. And that crowd was a huge factor last night in helping them come back and beat the Rockets. And that was a playoff intensity kind of crowd last night. I appreciate every single person that came to the game last night. You came right and came correct because you really did help them overcome that horrible deficit they gave themselves early in the game and come back and make sure that we won after all in the end too. And the crowd was a big part of it. They were live. They were doing so good with the defense chants and just like they were going off the chain. Like it was loud in there. And I love that. That's what we need. So getting it right with the atmosphere in there with the crowd and then just how we're playing and winning at home was really important, Kareem. I agree. Because this was a concern we had most of the season. Like, what the fuck is wrong with our home court? Why are we, what's up with that? But now I feel better about it. I feel like these guys are taking games at home more seriously and not coasting. They live in Toronto. They have the luxuries of this city and what they want. And they come in and maybe they're a little cushy, but on the road, it's a hard edge. There's a spiky like atmosphere. People hate you. But here it's like it's nice and soft and cuddly. Maybe you get a little more relaxed because you're in Toronto in the friendly confines of the Scotiabank Arena. But yeah, that home advantage was shown in these last home games of the season. 7-1, great way. The only one that we lost was that Miami Kyle Lowry return game that I got COVID at. All right, Callie saying, morning, guys. Hopefully we start the next game with better defense. Oh my gosh, Callie. Yes, we keep saying this. They're not listening to us. They continue to come out lackadaisical. As Nick Nurse put it, we decided not to play defense at the beginning of the game. And we really did not play defense at the beginning. That, part of it is Houston is a really badass baller kind of team that can do all kinds of crazy like shots and layups and do things like that with people like Tate and Green and Kevin Porter Jr. But it was also kind of like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You just showed up. Is it because you saw their record and you're like, we don't really need to do anything? Or like, we'll show up in the third or second quarter? No, don't do that. You cannot get in these habits. These are bad habits to have. Not coming out swinging. And that is a bad thing. Callie saying, I feel bad for you. My daughter got sick with COVID same time as you, and she is suffering. Yeah, I'm feeling it worse this morning, Callie, than I did yesterday. Yesterday, I felt pretty good. But this morning, I'm really achy and congested. I think maybe it's because there's a little bit of a storm outside. It looks like it's going to be starting and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm just going to keep trying to fight it. I mean, I've had it since Tuesday. I don't know how long this is going to last. Maybe it's a week or so, but I'm in quarantine and staying away from everybody. And a good thing, I'm stockpiled with a lot of fresh fruit, lots of juices, lots of good food that'll help nourish and give me vitamins to fight this and beat it. Oh, yeah. But I appreciate your concern, Callie. And my sympathies to your daughter also. Like, I hope that she's not dealing with it as bad as me and has a better time with it than I am. Duke's saying, laugh my ass off. I think all Toronto sports fans think they're a jinx watch Toronto games. Yeah, I mean, seriously, no, there's a lot of proof for this for me with the Blue Jays. Like this isn't like new for me. This is something that's been going on for decades as far as like, I love them and I want them to win, but I can't cover them like I cover the Raptors. And I could never not watch the Raptors. Like even if, but I don't have that kind of problem with Raptor games, obviously. But yeah, the Jays, whenever I would find time to start watching them, they would be winning and I'd start watching them and they'd start losing as soon as I start watching them. And I'm like, no, I can't watch them anymore. And by not paying attention to them is me doing my part to help them. And I'll just pay attention to them in the highlights and in the box scores and in the standings on the newspaper sheet. And I can just check and see how they're doing and stuff like that. Because like I can't even name probably 5 Blue Jays players on the team right now. Like that's how bad it is. Like I know that they got Vlad Guerrero Jr. and that's really, I think they got some other sons of other players like a Biggio and a Bichette or something like that. I don't know. I don't even know who's on their team. I mean, that's how blind like the last time I really paid really close attention to them was when they had Josh Donaldson and then they were making postseason runs. And I was watching then and I got it watching it and then they messed up again. I'm like, why am I watching? I need to go away and let them just win without me watching because I watched and then they got fucked up and they got out. So it's like that. It's that kind of thing. So that's why I'm staying away from them for the most part. But yeah, superstition and things like that is crazy. Yeah, all sports fans have their weird little things, and this is just mine with the Blue Jays. Duke's saying Pacers made a big mistake firing Nate Bjorkgren. Went with the big name coach, and how did that turn out? The Pacers, I think it's just the kind of thing where their franchise is just due to have a major rebuild. That they've been running around with Sabonis and Turner the last few years, and it's good big men, but they didn't really have anything around the outside or anything. I think that Bjorngren really didn't fit at all. Like he wasn't a culture fit. He was not getting the players to buy into what he wanted to do. And it was just kind of like, they thought they were getting like a Nick Nurse type kind of coach. And he wasn't a Nick Nurse type of coach in some ways. He's a different kind of dude and a different kind of way he runs things. And it wasn't a fit. It just wasn't a fit. And that's not a begrudge against Nate Bjorkgren, and it's not really a begrudge against the Pacers. Rick Carlisle became available, and that dude is a really good established coach for a long, long time. And listen, I love what happened the way it did because I was upset when they took Nate Bjorkgren from us because I realized how important he is on our coaching staff as far as like being prepared for games and just being the right hand man to Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse has worked with Nate Bjorkgren for so long; they're like best friends. And not having him with us in Tampa year was actually one of the reasons why we had a bad year last year. I honestly believe that. And that Chris Finch was supposed to fill in his role. And then he just up and left us halfway through the season to go to Minnesota. So I was really happy that Nate did not work out in Indiana because I really like him here with us as an assistant. And in the beginning of the year, when they were talking about all the new assistant coaches that they hired to our team, like Trevor Gleason and Earl Watson, when I didn't see Nate Bjorkgren's name on the list, I was like, what the fuck? Why aren't we bringing back Nate? He's free again. And it was just that they did bring him back, but he was an unofficial consultant at the beginning. And he's an assistant coach. Come on. But they didn't make a big to-do about him coming back because they didn't want to like make him feel like he failed in Indiana or anything. So I think it worked out all really well because having Bjorkgren on our coaching staff, it makes us one step closer to getting the second Larry O.B. And that he is that good of a right-hand man to Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse is much happier, much more comfortable. He has much more presence to be able to do what he needs to do with the game and what he's coaching and stuff like that when he has Nate beside him. And last year he didn't, and there were way more duties that Nick Nurse had to take care of as a head coach that he didn't have to this year because Nate was there this year. And that's what I'm talking about. He helps the workload for Nick Nurse. So Nick Nurse can concentrate fully on what he really should be doing as a head coach because he was having to do assistant coach kind of stuff last season because all of a sudden his dudes were gone and he had nobody doing that kind of stuff. So I'm really happy it worked out this way. And I won't slight the Pacers. The Pacers are just on a downward place anyway. They're in a rebuild and they're going to have a hard time no matter what. And I like Carlisle's a better fit for that team, honestly. So that's the way I look at that whole situation. It's really a good thing for the Raptors. So I think it's really good that it worked out that way. Seymour saying we're good on the road. Remember, a season ago was all away games. Yeah, ultimate road warriors. That's who we are. It's like we do not live at home. We live in a hotel room in St. Petersburg or Clearwater or Tampa or wherever the fuck they were staying down there when they were in Tampa. Yeah, the ultimate road warriors. That's who we are. Callie is saying Justin is playing so good now. I like this. I liked seeing Justin fight for that offensive rebound or getting the rebounds last night for his little bit. He had one little stint in the first half last night. He fought for a couple rebounds and then he hit that 1-3 and it was good because that 3 kind of woke us up. We were having trouble scoring and then all of a sudden Justin hit a 3 and that was good. We want to see him do more for us, but it may not be happening for the rest of the season. It may be that Justin goes and plays the game tomorrow in Mississauga against Delaware. He's not going to possibly be on our playoff roster, because that's part of what we have to make decisions with all the two-way guys, all the guys who are 905 and also Toronto. They got to be decided on whether they're going to be added to the playoff roster. And it could be that Justin does not end up being on the playoff roster just because of whatever. There's a certain amount of spots and stuff like that. I don't know. I may be completely wrong, but we'll see. It may be that Justin is not going to be playing for the Raptors for the rest of this season in the playoffs, and that we may see him again next year. But it's just going to be the 905 stuff. He wins out that, and then his season's over. Because it is like they have to decide which, because he's a two-way player. Sometimes you have to convert these two-way players to full roster players for them to be eligible to play in the playoffs. And I don't know if that's going to happen for him because we got Armani Brooks. And Armani Brooks has that spot that is basically going to be on our playoff roster. So I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, Justin is playing pretty good. And I really want to see him have a great effort tomorrow against Delaware and keep them going to the finals, because they can't lose tomorrow. It's a one and done. You got to beat Delaware Bluecoats, Philadelphia's G League team, and then get the finals 2 out of 3 in Mississauga. That's the thing. We get to play at home court because we had the best record in the whole G League. So all of our games are at home, which is awesome. That really does help. And they're getting good crowds out there. I think they're selling out and they're having a lot of people come to those games. Kareem's saying, am I the only one who watches a game from start to finish and thinks Gary Trent Jr. finished with something like 12 points, then read the stat sheet and it's like 76? His game is silent but deadly. Yeah, he gets points really fast and quickly. And because he misses so many shots also, you think, well, he must not be playing very well. And then all of a sudden, bam, you're like, holy shit, he's got almost 30 points. And, 26 points last night. It was really the three-pointers were huge. I really like the stuff that he's doing in the lane now. Like when he attacks the lane, like one time last night, he just broke free and he got a dunk. He like went right to the lane and just dunked it. And that was late in the game too. That just shows how bad Houston's defense is, that we found these cracks and our guys ended up getting right to the rim and just dunking it in the middle of their guys a couple of times last night. So, and I love that Gary is doing these teardrop kind of up high shots, and he's got big defenders in between him and the basket, and he's shooting over them. And he's got, like I said, he's got that nice spin off his hand that gives that good English, so that if it hits the rim a certain way, it'll bounce up over itself, maybe tap the backboard and then fall in. And those shots, with the way he's shooting like that, those are high percentage shots. And this is the thing, like he said, you don't pigeonhole me as just a three-point shooter. I'm a scorer. And that you want to guard me on the three-point line, well, I'll go around you and I'll take it to the hoop also. And, oh, man, Gary is a badass. Like, listen, we're going to have to live and die with his misses and makes. And it's the same kind of thing with Fred. These guys both need to be shooting no matter what. I don't give a shit how cold they are. I don't give a shit if they miss 10 shots in a row. These motherfuckers need to keep shooting no matter what, both of them, because they're going to hit them when they matter late, like Fred did the other night. Fred shot so poorly in the last game that he played, but he hit a huge three that was important late in the game. And this is the same kind of thing with Gary. Gary can miss for 3/4 of the game, but then get hot in the fourth quarter and still end up with almost 30 points. He's that kind of high volume, quick scorer that we can do. That's the thing. This dude's going to get a 50-point game when he's on for all 4 quarters of a game and we're feeding him. This dude's going to break the scoring record for the Raptors franchise. Trust me, at some point he will, because all it's going to take is him getting fed the ball and him being very hot. Because if he's very hot, everything will go down. Everything will go down. And once again, I really applaud and thank you, Raptors coaching staff, for picking him to be the designated free throw shooter when technicals or whatever, because that dude is going to make his free throws. He makes them count and he doesn't miss them. And that's really, he's good leadership for the free throw line also, to show those young guys, this is how you shoot free throws with a consistent MO about how you collect yourself, what your body is doing. And this is exactly how, and you see exactly how the ball goes swish right through the net every time Gary steps up to the free throw line. And the other guys need to try and get free throw shots like that, because too often we see hit the front of the rim, bounce up over and then in, or hitting the backboard and then going in. You want that nice, goes right through the net, doesn't hit anything like Gary does. That's the best. Yeah, Callie's saying Gary's a silent killer. Gary Trent Jr. X Factor. That's what Tom Duke's saying. Yes, these are all really correct and like apropos things about Gary. He can get going so quickly. And the thing I love about him is his confidence is unshakable. Like what I was just saying, if he's going through a period where he misses 10 shots, that doesn't mean he's going to try any less or that he's scared to shoot after that. That means he's just going to keep going and believe the next one's going to go in. And that's the kind of guy we need on this team, because that is one of our weaknesses is our three-point shooting and having a scorer like Gary. He's like the only one in some ways that's kind of like exactly what he does. All right, G saying, Gary said every game is meaningful. They all have a winning mentality. Yes. Yes, what Gary says in the interviews more and more just impresses me. Like in the beginning of the year, he was a clam. He would clam up and he very short answers, not really giving a whole lot, just kind of just talking. Some of his interviews would be like 2 minutes. You'd go, oh, Gary's out there. He's going to answer like 2 questions. And then you say, okay. And then he's out. But now he's kind of opening up near the end of the season and saying a lot more. And some of the stuff he's been saying has just been badass, because it's leadership kind of stuff. It's the kind of stuff about his mentality, about being a pro, and about believing in winning and believing in himself. And those kind of things have been really, really badass. Like the winning mentality thing is for real. And, just, oh, man, they're just awesome. Summer Love saying at Kareem, me too. Yeah, Gary, you don't realize what he's doing because he makes it look so easy. Like he's so effortless and he's just kind of floating around out there and doing his little side steps and stuff like that. And then it goes in. And it's so sweet to see his shot. Like there was one point where they left him so open for so long. And that's the kind of shot that most guys like, oh, I'm too open. They're going to brick it or miss it. But he really took his time and really used his method of shooting, like his form, and really thought about it. And he took his time and he shot it and he nailed it like easy. And I was like, wow, he's so open and they're nowhere near him and not getting to him. And he's really took his time and he made sure he made it. And that was badass, because if he had missed that shot, it would have looked bad. It would have been kind of like, what the fuck? You're so open. And he gave you so much time, but he made sure he made it. And that's what I'm saying. That's talking about the professionalism of him and stuff like that. Really, really cool stuff. Tom Duke saying winning is definitely the theme. Let's go. Yes, these guys are all winners. There's all kinds of cool media coming out this week. Like, all right, guys, talking about the winning culture of the Raptors. There's a new article out about Scotty Barnes. It's really interesting about his like mentality behind the scenes. I forget what entity wrote that or something, but look for the new article about Scotty Barnes. Talks about his days at FSU playing for the Seminoles, talks about him, like his why, how he does things. Like when he would shoot, he'd say yes. And if he said he was going to miss it, he'd say no. And then he made it and he said, psych, just stuff like that. Or like just about how he's always like hugging people and he's just always smiling and that's just how he is. And like in the beginning of the season, Fred had an argument with him, like where he's like, you need to chill out. You need to stop being like who you are. And then he was realizing, well, this is just who he is and that this is okay and it's fine. And they fixed all that and stuff. But there was a little bit of friction between Scotty and Fred at the very beginning of the season, because I guess Scotty's energy is so jubilant and overexertive that it gets wearing on you to a degree. You're just like kind of like, yeah, take it down a little bit, man. We're just kind of trying to have normal practice and stuff like that. But he's just so kind of, and Fred was like, take it down. But then he realized this is what this kid is. And I just got to accept him for who he is and allow him to be who he wants to be. And I think that that's the kind of stuff, like we said yesterday, is rubbing off on Pascal and seeing him with the joy on his face, the joy and the love of the sport, of the game, of playing basketball, that he's sharing it with Scotty. And Scotty has opened that window and that door for him to see, this is how you really love it, Pascal. Come with me. And Pascal's going with him. And you can see just the pure joy of playing the game and executing and having fun out there on Pascal's face the last couple of games. And that's badass. I love that Scotty is rubbing off that way on them in that kind of positive way. So it's really awesome. Let's see. Duke saying, I read in the beginning of the season, the team was impressed with his basketball mind for coaching. There was some issue of micromanaging the players. Agree. Thought happy he's back in T-Dot. Yeah, with Nate Bjorkgren. When he went to Indiana, they really did think he was going to be like a Nick Nurse kind of guy, like very similar, but he wasn't. You know, there's things about Nick Nurse that Nate doesn't have. And Nate is really good at like certain things, but not necessarily other things. And that's the whole thing. Sometimes you're a good assistant coach, but you're not a good head coach. And I don't know if that's for sure about Nate Bjorkgren, but it may be at the NBA level. That maybe in college he could be a great college coach, but it may not be that he's a good NBA coach. And part of it is also, like I said, the players did not take to him in Indiana. He wasn't a fit with their personalities. And you're right. I heard that he micromanaged, like he was really on top of them and he rubbed them the wrong way. And that's part of what I've been talking about this year. The really tough job of an NBA head coach is to get your players to trust you and to buy into who you are and what you're trying to do with the team. And that if you don't get that and the team is kind of like, well, he's kind of full of shit, they could try and submarine you on the down low and not listen to you and get you fired. And that kind of stuff happens all the time in the NBA. This happened to Luke Williams, Luke Walton at the very beginning of the season in Sacramento. You know, we beat them and then all of a sudden he gets fired the next day. It's because none of his players respected him. And in some ways, that was part of the problem with Indiana, is that Nate Bjorkgren was not getting the respect from the players last season. And that's why it wasn't working. So, yeah, it's stuff like that. It's their loss is our gain. And you know, it's really good how it worked out, really, in some ways. I mean, it's good experience for Nate, and you want him to be successful and stuff like that. But hey, be successful with us. Get another ring here, you know. Banana Bread Tan says, "Let's go." I'm not gonna go too crazy because I don't want to, like, I'm really hurting right now. Seymour Pape saying Portland signed Reggie Perry, so they signed him straight up for the rest of the year. That's great. Good for Reggie. Fantastic for him. He's just not in the plan for us. And it's too bad that he's not helping us on this run in the playoffs to win the 905 championship in the G League and stuff like that. Because he was such a huge part of our team this year. And he really did help us win a lot of games as far as his rebounding and his size. And him not being there for this run is a testament to how Patrick Mutombo runs the Raptors 905, and they do a good job no matter who is there because of call-ups or whatever and all that. So, yeah, congratulations to Reggie. It's too bad he's not there. But you know what? In a way, I think if they win the championship, he still gets some kudos for that just because of how much work he put in helping the team during the season this whole year. So Summer Lowe saying, I'm very afraid of Precious. He still makes horrible decisions and was a minus 28 today. I don't get why players get a steal and don't pass up and instead get fouled. Shaking my head. Yeah, Precious didn't have his best night last night, but that's the thing. We're going to have like on and off nights for him. We still got to realize he's a second-year player. We've really seen so much great things from him that when we do see him have kind of a stinker, it's kind of surprising at this point. Now, one thing I will say about his game last night, there's two things he did really well last night that I still like, even though he was an absolute fail on defense and just was a part of that unit that just absolutely fucked up the beginning of the game and gave Houston a huge lead. He did go to the line and hit all three of his free throws. And that to me is a win because in some ways we needed those 3 free throws to win a 2-point game. And then the other thing is even though he didn't play good defense and he didn't really rebound that much last night, he did find ways to score last night in the little bit of time that he was out there. Even though he only had 12 minutes, he scored 8 points still. And that was the 3 free throws, and he hit 1 3. And then he also hit another shot. But you know what? You're right. I cringe when I see Precious do too much. And usually the too much is him dribbling or going around in circles or doing things like that. Like I want him to give it up when it seems like a dangerous location for him to be handling the ball because he's got a guy guarding him and then the help is coming at him also. And that'll usually stifle him and then he'll turn the ball over. So Precious, you need to recognize that you are not really supposed to handle the ball when you're already in the half court setup and you're not getting a clear path to the basket. Like it's one thing if you got a defender like Joel Embiid in between you and the basket and you have an advantage of going around him and getting to the rim, that's something. But when you're trying to manufacture a shot and you're kind of on the side and you're kind of just dribbling around and you don't have any rhyme or reason or plan to what you want to do, that's a bad situation. And that's the situation where Precious needs to pass it immediately. He needs to keep the ball moving. I don't mind him trying stuff and trying new stuff, but that's one situation I've noticed that he always fucks up and turns the ball over. And that's the one that's actually easy to fix. That's something that the coaching staff will talk to him and they'll figure out better options for him to decide from instead of just trying to dribble around a guy and then a second help defender comes and he's trapped and he's lost the ball, stuff like that. So yeah, he makes you nervous at different times, but there's so much good that he's doing also that makes you kind of like, I have to have confidence in him and allow him to do what he's going to do. It may be in the playoffs he's reined in a little bit more and that Nick Nurse is a little bit more like quick on the leash with him if he is going to be doing kind of stuff like that. And they were like, no, Precious, we can't have you be doing that. And then he's out of the game all of a sudden, and we're putting Thad Young in instead or something. Because that was the big difference was those guys came out, Chris and Precious and Malachi, and then Thad came in, and he was immediately doing like big veteran kind of winning kind of plays to help us. Like whether it was making, like he was really important at the end of the game last night, also making huge shots to help. It was like Scotty, Gary, and Thad that were really closing the game out and making sure we were scoring enough to win. But he was also doing all kinds of little things like really important rebounds, some really good passes and things like that, winning plays. And that's why Thad at the end of the game last night, he had one of our best plus minuses. He was plus 21. 6 of 8 shooting is fantastic by Thad. He didn't shoot as well against Philadelphia, but he did shoot really well last night. And he's kind of stuffed the stat sheet. He had 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal, 14 points, made both his free throws, which I was very happy about, but he missed both his 3-pointers. But once again, we were talking about this yesterday, Monique and I, that we don't like Thad shooting threes if he's in moving around. He's okay if he's already set in the corner and he's catching it. Like if they throw it and kick it out to him and he's already set and he just goes up to shoot it. But if he has to move at all before he's going to shoot the 3-pointer, he's going to miss it. And we don't like that. So he's got to be a set 3-point shooter and not like try and shoot other stuff. But yeah, it is, Precious is young and he's like, in some ways he doesn't have some of the inherent like veteran kind of instincts that Scotty does, and that he's got to learn other different things around his game to help him be like not turning the ball over and stuff like that. That whereas Scotty, they have different things they've got to learn as very young players. But man, they're so good and so far ahead of schedule that it's not. These are really easy things that'll be fixed, and they're going to look badass and get through it for sure. Banana Bread Tan saying at Duke Rocks, who are you referring to? He was referring to Nate Bjorkgren. Is what we were talking about. Nate Bjorkgren not working out in Indiana and then coming back and coaching for us this year. Yeah, he just answered you too. G saying OG is an efficient 3-point shooter. He really is. Like this is the thing. He's a secret weapon. We're talking about this yesterday. Is he an injury-prone player? Is this going to be what he has? I don't think so. I think that it's just he's had more than his share, but he's kind of like at this point, we could have played him these last 2 games, honestly, but we're really trying to get him some rest with his contusion on his thigh. And hopefully his finger starts healing somehow, some way, but it really hasn't. It's kind of going to have to be something in the off season. Hopefully it just improves over the months while we're off. But OG, when he comes back, we fully expect not missing a beat, because he did this the last time he was out for a little bit. He came right in. He was badass. He comes out, he starts bombing 3 threes right away. He's shutting down somebody on the other end and stuff like that. And that's what I expect from OG is like, even though he's missed time recently, if he plays tomorrow against New York, we're going to see him come out and he's going to seamlessly fit right back in. And that there's not going to be any kind of weird adjustment period because so much time accrued, so much familiarity with Fred and Pascal and the system and everything. And like he feels good. And like his shot is like a laser. Like I love OG's 3-point shot. Like it's so sound. Like you look at it and when the way he shoots it, it's just like what I was talking about with Gary Trent and his free throws and the way he shoots it also. Certain guys on this team have lasers. And OG and Precious and Gary are three of them that I really talk about having lasers, especially Precious, like with his 3-point shot. It's like a laser at this point. It goes right through and swish right through there. And it's all form and just keeping it the same way every time. That's what it is. Discipline, form, and confidence in what he's doing. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I can't wait for OG to come back. Tom Duke's saying, ew, 28 minus 28 for Precious is ugly for sure. The Precious roller coaster is exciting. You know, I think that the problem with Precious last night partly was the opponent. The Houston Rockets are like kind of like a different kind. They're kind of like Precious in themselves. They're like a raw, very talented team. And there's some of their attributes and the things that they do well. Maybe Precious isn't really good to play against them. And that might have been a matchup thing that in particular, because Precious is really good against when we play guys like Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic, the bigger guy. We have a mismatch and stuff like that. And that just wasn't happening correctly last night with this personnel that the Rockets have. And I think it really was like a matchup kind of thing. But once again, like I said, I think Precious contributed in some good ways last night, even though he was minus 28 and that he was out there in that period where we absolutely got outscored. His defense sucked last night. But like I said, he made all three of his free throws, which is really big to me. And then also he managed to score points even though his defense wasn't that good. He got 8 points in 12 minutes. So that's still pretty good. Seymour Pape saying, Dick Jefferson trying to be friends with Scotty. I don't like it. Of course, everybody wants to be friends with Scotty. Scotty, they want favors from him. They want to make sure that he doesn't kill them later on in future games when he becomes one of the most dominant players in the league. You know, he's just got that shine to him. Of course, he's like the popular kid at school. Everybody wants to be his pal, you know, and stuff like that. They see the future in him. And they want to say that they were somebody that always believed in them. Like, you know, Bradley Beal watching him from afar, like, or LeBron say, I observed him as a youngster and I saw that he was very good and stuff like that. They all want to take some sort of credit for seeing the talent in him and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, Dick Jefferson, stay away from Dick Jefferson, Scotty. Just do a ESPN commercial with him. That's it. You don't hopefully have to talk to him or deal with him anymore, other than like maybe possibly media here and there. But yeah, don't. He's not a good dude. Stay away from Dick Jefferson, Scotty Barnes. All right, Banana Bread 10 saying at Duke Rocks, thanks. And also, yeah, Pascal is a huge vibe and rhythm guy. He really is. Like when he's feeling good in his heart and his spirit, you can see it in him. Like you can see it when he's beaten down and he's depressed or he's sad or he's upset. And you can see when he's like feeling good and he's riding high and he's wheeling and dealing. And once again, we saw him doing that scoring kind of stuff last night against a lesser opponent, still getting his things going. And that's important. He shot 50% right down the line again, 12 of 24, 29 points. He didn't get the assist last night to get the next triple-double. But you know what? He's only 3 assists away from another triple-double 2 nights in a row. That's what I'm saying. This year is this year. But next year, Pascal could come back and he could be averaging almost a triple-double next season. I'd like to see him try and be like Kyle Lowry and be that triple-double hunter. The Kyle Lowry was a triple-double hunter, and that's part of the reason why he got so many. So Pascal, figure out what Kyle was doing, and you start collecting them. And once again, that'll just really, really help enforce that you are one of the best players in the league, that you should be an all-star no matter what, that you are all NBA and those kind of things. If you start dropping triple doubles, like every couple games, like if every 4 or 5 games, the NBA will notice next season. And you are fully capable of doing this. Your playmaking ability right now is off the charts. And you should be doing this just for the team because it'll help the team win. And it'll also help you get more esteem in the eyes of the overall NBA media. is the triple doubles will really do it. Is for some reason it's just a stat that people really look at and highly value. The fact that you're working hard on the boards, you're making your other teammates much better with assists, and then you're taking a scoring load on yourself. And that's the thing I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. Banana Bread Tan said, I've made the mistake of not taking my losses on the chin. The more you do, the more you learn, the more you grow. Pascal Siakam to me is an example of how limitless we all are in the right mindset. Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, he's listening to Les Brown. He's got that limitless mindset, seriously. And this really is the dare to not be afraid to fail. And that so many people in our lives are so afraid of failing, they don't even try. And that's why Pascal is dangerous. It's like he's gotten to the level where he's failed in very important games. He's felt our wrath as a fan nation. He's felt the sting of absolutely not succeeding. And now it's like once you've gone through that and you've seen both sides, you've seen how it feels when you win and how it feels when you lose, you can be more fearless and be like, you know what? I understand what the possibilities of what could happen if I take these key shots and I try and win this game for us. If I lose, then I'm going to get dragged. If I win, then I'm a hero. And you got to have that confidence and that ability to be like, you know what, I'm willing to take the chance and not shy away from it. Because some players, they fail and they are scared to ever try again. And Pascal is not that guy. He has failed and he has taken the heat for it in different places and he has grown from it. He definitely took it on the chin and has grown from it. But that's the reason why he's so badass at this point, is that he's not afraid to fail still, but he's more set up to succeed because of his preparation and the way that where he's being coached, the way that, you know, all these kind of things set him up to succeed. But that, you know, he's not afraid to take that big shot at the end and fail also. But I think he's more often than likely he's gonna succeed, especially if he's gonna do stuff like in the Philadelphia game where he's gonna miss a late shot and he's gonna get so go right after his own shot and put it right back with that kind of work ethic and like I'm not giving up kind of thing. That play right there at the end of the Philly game signifies what I'm talking about. He took the shot, he missed, but he made sure he went and got his rebound and put it right back. And it's that kind of thing. Banana Bread Tan saying, and the right community support, then again, with the right mindset, you'll find your community. Yeah. I think that like Pascal, listen, he tightened up his circle. He's like, you know, Chris has said he's not listening to everybody, but he is. On the down low, he hears a lot of the noise that the fans and people are saying and different things. So it's kind of be very gratifying to him to feel like, he's come full circle. The fans are really enjoying and loving him, and he's like who he is at this point after so much being dragged through the mud and stuff like that. So. Banana Bread Tan saying, I think Nate could still be a head coach somewhere. Just had some things to learn. That could be. I don't know enough to know for sure. I'm just going by what was said about last year and stuff like that. And to be honest, like I said, I'm being very selfish for the Raptors. We need him in our brain trust. We need him in our organization helping Nick Nurse. And that's why I'm like, don't somebody try and take him next. You know, we want him here. We need him. In fact, in some ways, I feel like he may be the most important assistant coach in some ways that we need him next to Nick for different things. Because part of it is, listen, if Nick Nurse and Nate Bjorkgren have worked together for a long time, sometimes they just need to reference something with one word, or they say, you remember this at this point and this time, and then that's enough. And that's like a shorthand that's accrued between two guys who worked together for so long. That can be very helpful. And if you notice in the timeouts late in the game, who's talking? Is usually Nate Bjorkgren and Nick Nurse. Nate is usually in there pointing stuff out and showing them what they should do next. And that's like, listen, he's not the number one assistant. It's Adrian Griffin. And if Nick gets booted, Adrian Griffin's going to be the coach. But Nate Bjorkgren, in some ways, I kind of call him like Nick Nurse's caddy. Like he's the dude at the timeout who's got all the materials and the dry erase sheet and the different things like that. And he's preparing Nick to just come into the timeout and give the information the team needs at that moment to go back in the game. And that he sets him up. And that last year when Nate was gone, I saw a glaring problem at that point. I was honestly worried about Nick Nurse doing too much work as the head coach last year, that he was getting burnt out because he didn't have the correct support assistant coaches at that time. Partly because Nate was in Indiana and Chris Finch took off on him. So it was that kind of stuff. So it's a lot easier this year for Nick Nurse. He's having an easier time coaching this year, partly because not just because they were in Tampa, but because his right hand man is next to him. And that's part of it right there. All right, let's see. Duke Rocks is saying, I was watching another basketball podcast and a topic came up with there's a beef with Orlando and Toronto's fan bases regarding Suggs. Well, whatever. I listen, I have been a part of Orlando fan base, living in Florida and being a Magic fan right when they started as a franchise. I was a Magic fan up until the Raptors existed. So it's 89 to like 94 or something like that. Shaq and Penny Hardaway, Nick Anderson. And Magic fans are really weird. Like, because in some ways they're kind of underneath Miami in the state of Florida as far as like prestige and stuff like that. And the Magic have had a lot of losing and different things like that. They get the finals one year against Houston and they get put out. And some of my very good friends in Tallahassee are Magic fans. Like one of my best friends that I used to coach a basketball team with is a big Magic fan. Now, I don't think that the rivalry or the upsetness is really that big because honestly, what are they upset about? We took Scotty from them. Sure, maybe they're upset about that. But it was so funny to see all the footage of when we took Scotty Barnes and how the Magic fans were so happy that they got Suggs. Well, they're idiots. Like honestly, Magic fans are weird. They're weird. But I don't know that these fan nation is a problem like with this right now. We should basically be like they're a fly on our shoulder and just because that's really what they are. They're not important or a problem. They got Suggs. We didn't get Suggs. And thank goodness that we got Barnes. Everything's working out for us. Everything's coming up Millhouse for us. And them, they can have their own problems, their own dysfunction. If they have a problem with us and they're having this issues, but that's interesting that there's a beef about that. I think that it's evolved over the course of this year that like everybody is thinking, oh, you fucked up Toronto because you didn't take Suggs and you took Barnes. And well, we see the reality of all that at the end of the season and stuff. So it could be, I don't know. It's a weird situation. I'll have to go investigate what exactly the conflict is between our two fan bases. But I think it could be that just Magic fans are salty that they didn't get Scotty Barnes. That's what it should be. They should be salty that we didn't fuck up. We did our homework. We went and got the guy we should have gotten, the generational talent. We didn't fall for the NBA media's line of you should take Jalen Suggs because he's who we project to be number 4. And, don't pick number 5. No, don't pick projected number 5. No, you're supposed to go to Orlando. No, you took number 5. You were supposed to take number 4, Jalen Suggs. What the fuck, Masai and Bobby? You fucked up the whole draft. Yeah, motherfucker. We did our own homework and we didn't fall for their shit. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. I don't know what it is. But Orlando fan, you don't have a leg to stand on. You're not in the playoffs. You do not have Scotty Barnes. Boo-hoo. You got Jalen Suggs. There you go. He's down at the dock selling fake Rolexes at the lake dock. It's not even it's a landlocked dock. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I don't understand that. I might have to go investigate this a little bit, Duke, what you're talking about. A beef between Orlando and Toronto fan bases? I don't know. I think we have more beefs with other fan bases in different places. Orlando's just doesn't matter. Like, how do they matter? Orlando doesn't matter right now. It's crazy. Duke's saying also, I know at a Raps game, our fans chanted Scotty's better, but is really a beef over that? Well, we did definitely do that. We did that right at the beginning. I went to the first Orlando game at the beginning of the season that we won by 1 point. That was the one where Scotty did that dribble, and then the Dr. J throwdown. They were chanting Scotty's better. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's true. And it's stuff like that. I don't know. Orlando fan, like I said, I don't hear them because they're irrelevant. Let's just put it that way. Orlando fan is irrelevant right now. I don't care what they think or want. Duke Rocks is also saying, are Raps fans pissed and Suggs for tanking his workout? No. Listen. This is what I think. This is what happened was that we had him work out last year, and it wasn't that he tanked it. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't show enough effort or something like that. He did not look like a personality fit with our culture as on the Raptors. Like he doesn't look like a Raptor kind of guy. Like he, in some ways, think about it this way: in college, he was applauded, he was lauded. He was somebody that everybody's like, this guy's so good. He had it so easy. This is not the way we like our Raptors. Somebody that's like applauded and lauded and like, oh, you're going to be such a good pro. Well, you know what, motherfucker? You find out that the NBA is not necessarily translatable from college. That some of these skills that these undersized guards have in college, they just don't work in the big league. And that's the thing. We know this. Well, I knew this too. It's like you look at his body, you look at who he is. Sure, he's a fantastic scorer. He can do all this kind of shit in college, but that doesn't mean he can do jack shit in the NBA. You're going to look at Scotty Barnes and you see the broad shoulders, you see the long arms, you see the huge hands, and you're like, that's an NBA player. And that's just pure and simple truth of it is like there's so many players that do well in college that are not good NBA players. And that's what you got to think about. You don't think about what they did in college and how badass they were in college because that may never translate to the NBA. And you really want to look at like their bodies and look about their physical gifts and their possibility for what they could do in the NBA. Because in some ways, and Scotty is a much better pro NBA player than a college player. You look at his stats at FSU, the things that he did in his 1 year there, they're not comparable to what he's doing on the pro level this year. So it's that kind of stuff. It's like some guys, when they come out of college, they can be so heralded and like celebrated for their college career, but it won't mean shit in the NBA. And Jalen Suggs is that kind of guy. And in some ways, I already knew that. When I heard it on the paper, I said, okay, yeah, they're making a big deal out of him because he's such a good college player, but he's 6'4". He's shorter than the average guy at his position. He's going to be playing shooting guard, and he's going to have 6'7" guys guarding him. He's not going to be able to do half the shit that he did in college. So it was really that kind of thing. And I think that also, yeah, maybe he came in for his workout with the Raptors and he dogged it. He didn't put in enough effort. And we saw who he really was. Okay, this is a guy who got a lot of kudos in college. He's already celebrated. He doesn't seem like he's like a Wichita State undrafted Fred VanVleet. He doesn't look like a undrafted, I'm going to work my ass off to get the offensive rebounds from Pitt, Justin Champagny. He doesn't look like a guy like Armani Brooks who didn't get drafted and he's clawing and fighting his way to be back into the league. Some things just came too easy for Jalen Suggs. And that is the difference right there. We don't want players like him on our team. We want players like Fred that have a chip on their shoulder and have something to prove. And Jalen had nothing to prove. And obviously he hasn't because he hasn't proved shit on Orlando. He's been like their second best rookie on their team as the 5th pick in the NBA draft. Franz Wagner's better than him. So it's that kind of thing. And I love that Bobby and Masai are so astute. He came in, he dogged his workout. He didn't look as good. And they're like, we'll pass. Let's get the kid Barnes. These we liked already. Let's just get him. And that's I don't understand. Like, we don't have a beef with them because everything's worked out completely for us. If Orlando has a problem with us, well, you should have got better ping pong balls last year. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, I don't think Raps fans are pissed about any of it. Even the people that were like so big on Jalen Suggs last summer, they're coming around. I think they're like, yeah, we like Scotty Barnes. I think Scotty Barnes was the right decision. I hope they think that. If they don't think that, then maybe they don't really understand basketball. And then maybe they're just kind of like holding on to Jalen Suggs, the idea of him being on the Raptors, a little too hard just because it's their own ego and what they wanted. And it's like, no, Scotty Barnes was the right decision. Obviously, it's so crazy. Yeah, this is an interesting topic, Duke. I'm going to go and do some research about this and see if there is actually some friction in a major way between Orlando Nation and Raptor Nation. Rank Scrubs here. The issue with last night was the response to when the Rockets wanted to step in the paint. There needs to be a bouncer ready to impede any attempt to claim the high or low post. Right off the bat last night, they got the jump on us. They came with some really quick burst energy, and we're getting to the rim really easily. Like specifically Kevin Porter Jr. Just really finding easy way to score. And like I said, Houston doesn't have a lot of rhyme or reason to their team. They're not very good as a team unit, but they have really, really talented offensive individuals. And what they were doing last night was they were showing off their ability to beat us one-on-one and just get to the hoop and score. And that was Kevin Porter Jr. And it's like, yeah, they need to do that. Steven Silas was probably telling his team, you need to punch them in the face, get the lead, and we will win this game. And that's the only way we'll win this game. If you let them get out the lead and they have a lead over us, we will not come back on them. So you have to go out there and do that. And that was part of the game plan for Houston last night, was to punch us in the face. We did not play defense in the beginning. And we maybe took lightly how quick a first step or a burst that they can do to get to the hoop and score like that right away. And that was really what I was seeing, because they were getting to the hoop. You're right. We need a bouncer. We need a Charles Oakley, a guy that will hit somebody who comes to the hoop and stuff like that. And we didn't have that early on. And in some ways, there really wasn't a whole lot of low post kind of physicality in the game last night. Both teams were kind of having an open door policy to let the other team just come in and just either dunk or just lay it in and stuff like that. There was a lot of that last night. That wasn't the best defensive game for either team, honestly. So, but yeah, it's very interesting. And that's the kind of stuff in the playoffs that'll happen for sure. Eastern Conference playoffs, there's going to be bouncers down there. We're going to see Kem Birch, we're going to see Precious, we're going to see Chris, we're going to see Thaddeus Young putting people on the floor and doing things like that in the playoffs for sure. It's just last night, it's Houston, and in some ways that's part of it. Sue is here, and it's good to see Sue. Good morning, everyone. Not a pretty start, but great comeback, and we got fifth sewn up. So proud of our guys this season. Lots of doubters towards them this year, but they kept fighting to prove they are better than some said. Yes, Sue. Yes, it was an interesting game. A game. Listen, I thought of it this way: like the Raptors really want to cause some challenges for themselves in their lives. They saw the opponent last night. They're like, "Oh, it's the Rockets. Well, let's make this a challenge. Let's spot them 24 points and then see if we can come back on it." I felt like that was part of it. Is like they just really love the challenge of coming back from being behind. And it's not a good habit. And I know against good teams, they're really good about trying not to let this happen. But they did once again with Houston last night. And we're just glad that it all worked out. Like, once again, Stevie Roots and I say this before every game: just win. We don't care how it happens or way it happens, just as long as the W is on the side for Toronto at the end of the game. And that's what happened. This, in the history book, it may be like, wow, this game was way closer, that Houston was like, we shouldn't have had this happen against the worst team in the league. But in the record book, it'll always say that we won this game, even though it was only by 2 points. And it was way closer than it should have been, as far as the caliber of that team we played and our caliber of our team. But that shows the professionalism of the team, that they were like, we need to, what the fuck is this? Gary Trent said, this is unacceptable. And they made a difference, and they made it change and made sure they won. And that's kind of, in a way, that's kind of impressive to me in itself. That, they got down by so much, and then they did the work, and they did show really good time management and clock management at the end of the game to make sure that they won. Although, if it's dangerous when you're only up by 2 and the other team has almost 5 seconds to get the last shot off and possibly get a game-winning buzzer beater. And that's scary. But we took care of it the right way. We had the good defense and different things like that. It's really good. Seymour Pape saying, bonjour, Jack kills me. Jack and Matt are so awesome. Like, they can't, I don't think they can do better than the Ron Jeremy thing this year. Like, they're trying to duplicate the spontaneous giggles and fun of that Ron Jeremy flub that Jack Armstrong had earlier this season. But what was he talking about? Sesame seeds at one point last night? He was just talking about sesame seeds. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, Jack? With your bagels and your sesame seeds? Like, what is this? But yeah, I love those guys. It's awesome. Banana Bread Tenson, I get that. Laugh out loud. Operation Keep Nate with Nick. Yeah. It's just that they're a good fit. They're best friends. They know each other really well. It's kind of like what Nick was saying with Fred VanVleet being around for so long, that he can just kind of reference something really quick from a game like 4 years ago. And Fred knows what he's talking about. That kind of accrued interest, accrued experience together and working together is really invaluable in some ways. And that Nate Bjorkgren's role next to Nick Nurse is really, really helpful and important for the team. And if you notice, when Lowry came back on Sunday, they showed him talking to Nate Bjorkgren. They had a big hug too, because like he's a big part of our winning year in 2019. Just real quick about Lowry, the open gym that came out yesterday is absolutely fantastic. It may be one of the greatest episodes of open gym ever made. It's all about the Lowry return game, and it's spliced in with the classic footage that open gym is filmed from the very beginning of Kyle Lowry being in Toronto all the way through his whole career. It's such a must watch for Raptor fans. If you have not watched this Lowry open gym yet, you have to watch it because it has so much in it. It has the past. It has what happened on Sunday night. Like Lowry apparently likes to hang out in the equipment manager's office before the game. And that when he came to the Scotiabank Arena on Sunday, he went straight into the equipment manager's office. He's like, just like where we always are. He's like in there hanging out with the equipment guys. And Fred, of course, knew where he was. And he came in. He's like making fun of him. He's like, because he's wearing his really badass suit that he had on Sunday. And he's got his ring. He's like, this is the second time I've worn this thing ever. And he's like, I felt like I needed to wear it today. And Fred comes in. And he's like, you look rich. You look rich. I say stuff like that to him. And then Bobby Webster shows up and he's like, I knew I'd find you in here because this is where he always was in the equipment manager's office before games. That's so crazy. And this is fun to see insider kind of stuff about Kyle Lowry and things that you didn't know about him in the Raptors and stuff. And it's just a really cool episode to see just how interlocked and important Toronto Raptors is to Kyle Lowry in that whole episode. Just a fantastic episode. Watch that open gym today. If you have not watched it yet, it is so well put together. And it has everything from that last Sunday night that was amazing. And like I said, so many great clips from throughout Kyle's whole time with the Raptors in that episode. Just so good. Such a well put together. Kudos to Open Gym once again for just amazing work this season. So many good episodes this season. And this Kyle Lowry one is really like a cherry on top as far as things. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, let's keep going. G saying Earl Watson helped Booker with his game, and you can tell he's helping the Raptors. Yeah. Earl Watson. I mean, I'm not going to slight Earl Watson also because he's a kind of a newer coach on the team this year, but you can really see his effect also. Like in some ways, what Earl does is he brings a confidence to our offense that we haven't had in years before like this. Like, I didn't think our offense was that confident, even when we had Kawhi and people like that, in some ways that I have more confidence in our offense this year. And then I really feel like that's part of what Earl Watson's doing, whether it's the work he did with Pascal Siakam at Rico Hines the last few years, and now he's enforcing it as a staff member of the Raptors coaching staff, is that he really does help our players see offensive opportunities that they may not have seen, that he's the one kind of encouraged them to be more aggressive and go get their shots and do things like that. And I love that about him. I wonder about the work that Earl specifically does with people like Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes, obviously Pascal, but what is he doing with people like OG or, stuff like that? It's very interesting. And I can't undersell or, who Earl Watson is and what he's having as an impact as an assistant coach for the Raptors this year. Now, I really hope that he sticks around for a few years, but people keep saying that this is kind of like a 1 or a 2, 3 year kind of coaching thing with Nick to really learn. And then he's going to get snatched up and he'll be coaching another team pretty soon, not long into his Raptors career. But I'd love to have him around as long as possible for sure. G saying ESPN gave Masai a D+ for his offseason moves, especially drafting Barnes. Masai keeps making people look silly. Oh my gosh, they failed on that grade right away, just purely because we should have gotten an A+ just for signing Masai Ujiri to his contract. I'm sorry. I said it last summer. I'll say it again. ESPN, the best free agent signing last summer was the GM, is the president of the Raptors, staying in the fold with us for a long time. Like, this contract that he got last summer, I think it is like a 10+ year contract, something very long term. And that is going to be the most important move from last summer out of anything, that we got the same captain still steering our ship and we got him locked down. And that's important because, Michael Grange writing hit pieces talking about how Masai leaves and then the Raptors crumble and become a shitty franchise again. Well, we ain't letting that happen because Masai's sticking around and he loves it here. We all love it here. Nick Nurse loves it here. Masai Ujiri loves it here. They want to keep going because they know they're going to win and they want to win more championships. That's what they're all about. They're not wanting to just get in the playoffs year after years. They want to win championships, and that's what they're out to do. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, that's silly. ESPN's so stupid. Like, first of all, they should have given us an A+ just for Scotty Barnes. And, I don't know, whatever. They're biased. They look at things like we lost Kyle Lowry, and that's probably why they said D+. It's because we lost Kyle Lowry. Well, we got fucking Precious for that. I don't know. Like I said, if they were a weatherman and they were predicting rain and it never rained, they would be fired. And ESPN, you need to fucking fire some of your pundits and your experts because you're fucking missing the mark on a lot of areas, especially with the Toronto Raptors content that you're bringing up. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they look real silly, Seymour. I agree with this. Seymour's also saying Raptors odds to win it all plus 1,100. I'm putting 100 down today on it. Let's go. The money is good if we win, but I want us to win regardless. That's what I'm saying. I told people at the beginning of the season, put some money down on the Raptors to make the playoffs, put some money down on the Raptors to win a championship because nobody could see it happening at the beginning of the season. And if you take those odds, then holy crap, how much money you have and stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying. It becomes more realistic as the season goes on. You may not be able to see it at the very beginning of the season because there's too many unknowns. But if you trust in Masai, you trust in Nick Nurse, you trust in the Raptors system of development, and you see two young studs like Scotty Barnes and Precious Achiuwa coming into the fold of the team, you can kind of like maybe project and they, by the end of the season, they could be a playoff team. Well, yeah, that's what exactly happened. And it was just people that had the guts and the risk to take. You know what? I believe in these Raptors. There's something special about this Scotty Barnes kid. And you put your money down at the beginning of the season for them to win a championship. Well, you could be a very rich man by the time the end of the season happens. And hopefully we won a championship. That's crazy because like you think about the payout, the odds on that were at the beginning of the season where everybody was like, half the people were saying we weren't even going to make the playoffs. But if you pick them for a championship and put money on that there, the odds are so good. Oh my gosh, they're so good. G saying Bulls looking bad. They really are falling apart at the worst possible time. They lost again last night. It's great for us because it keeps us in this fifth spot, but I feel bad for DeMar. I think that their season's kind of unraveling. And you know what? Listen, if they're going to play Boston in the first round, I want them to fuck them up. Like, come on, DeMar, have some pride. Get out there and play out of your mind in the playoffs still. Beat the Celtics. Put them out. If you get the Celtics in the first round, put them out. Please, DeMar. Just do it. Just do it. Just put them out. So, they may look bad right now in the regular season, but who knows? Let's see how they get ready for the playoffs and see if they can make some noise still in their first round matchup. Who knows? But they are looking really bad. Like, they've looked really bad in the last month of the NBA season. They were number 1 in the Eastern Conference in February, and they have fallen all the way down to 6th at this point, two months later, and that's really bad. Banana Bread Tansin at Seymour. It's so tempting. I wish I'd put money on our wins losses. I thought we'd do better than 37 wins. Yeah. Listen, every single year, because they're going to discount us, the experts, and say that we can't do this, we can't do that, just put a bet on the Raptors blindly. Put a bet on them above whatever anybody is expecting, and you will win money. That's just a pure and simple way. At this point, it's easy money at this point because Vegas listens to the experts and they make the odds a certain way because of all the noise, and then it's easy money because it's not even really based on reality in some ways because of that discount that we get. So go take advantage of it, Raptor fan. If they're going to do that shit, let's take advantage of every single way we can take advantage of it. Was making money off it or our team surprising teams and shocking them because we're so much better than the experts thought we are. So it's that, hey, let's take advantage of this shit. Let's go make some money, y'all. That's what I'm saying. So next season, let's see where they put us. And like I'm saying, I'm projecting us to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference next year with no injuries and us playing really solid and really synergizing more reps together and them really knowing that we should be number 1 because we should be winning that kind of clip is what I'm thinking. And nobody this year has impressed me enough to think that next year they're going to be so badass. And stuff like Milwaukee has been very vulnerable. None of these teams have been juggernauts in the Eastern Conference. So that crown is ripe for the taking, and we need to go up there and ascend to take it at the beginning of the season next year. And right from the start, I'd like us to be the number 1 team in the East for most of the season next year. And I think that that's highly doable with the mix of guys we have and the growth that we're already showing. We're going to get even better. We're not as good as we could be, and we're already winning a lot. So, all right, let's keep going. G saying someone made a joke that Nurse purposely wanted them to be behind to teach them comebacks. I highly doubt it, but he is a madman. He was frustrated as hell with that. He was really frustrated as hell with that game last night. Whether he's frustrated with the refs, he's just frustrated with his team not playing defense. Like he was mad, like after the game in his press conference for a second when he talked about bringing his bench unit, Chris, Precious, and Malachi for that stretch where they absolutely got ran off the court by Houston and allowed them to get up by 24 points. He was pissed at them. And that's part of the reason why Precious didn't play as much late in the game, or Chris. Those guys did not get much time on the court later in the game. You didn't see Malachi hardly at all either. Because they failed. They failed. And that's what Nick Nurse said straight up in the press conference, that these guys did not bring the right energy to match them. And they didn't play good enough defense because Houston was doing whatever the fuck they wanted to. So he was disappointed in them. So let's see. G saying funny you just said that. Jordan Ukana. I've never seen your name. Good. Welcome to see you. We're here every morning at some point between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. talking Raptors, daily Raptors, reacting to the Rockets game last night. Let's see what Jordan's saying. If Nick Nurse went to the Lakers laughing my ass off, we had a great year this one. If Nick Nurse would never go to the Lakers, first of all, the Lakers are a toxic cesspool. Nobody wants to go there. Steph Curry said, I'm good. I don't want to play with you, LeBron. And listen, like I said, the Lakers need to just shut the fuck up and go away for 2 months because they're not in the playoffs. They are not relevant to this playoff race. And they're already talking about the coaches they want. They want Quinn Snyder. They want Doc Rivers. They want Steph Curry. We don't give a shit who you want, Lakers. Just shut the fuck up. Go to the golf course and go to the beach and chill out, ice your fucking legs, LeBron, do whatever the fuck, just go away for 2 months because you're not relevant. And we don't give a shit about your laundry list or your shopping list for who you need to get for next year. We aren't in next year yet. We got shit to play for still. And Laker Nation could go take a long walk off a short pier and just fucking go chill for fucking 2 or 3 months. I am so sick of how much the Lakers get publicity. I am so sick of them getting highlights. They're still talking trash and talking about how the Lakers, LeBron had a good season, even though they were such a bad. No, he didn't. He may have had a good statistical season individually, but what the fuck does it matter when your team's a piece of garbage? So yeah, listen, Lakers can just shut the fuck up and go away for 2 months because they are not relevant. They're not in the playoffs. They're losers. And LeBron, it should not be considered the greatest of all time. It's like after this season, that has been shattered. I'm sorry. The greatest of all time does not allow his team to have this bad a season with the caliber of talent that he has on his roster. So he's a fake. And honestly, Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time. And I would probably put 2 or 3 other guys ahead of LeBron on the greatest of all time list at this point, just because of how abysmal this fucking season has been for the Lakers. So yeah, Nick Nurse will never coach for the Lakers. Keep dreaming, Laker Nation. You would be so happy to get him, but there's no fucking way he would go coach the Lakers. You're crazy if you think that. Oh yeah. Seymour Pape is, I think the media hurt the Bulls' chemistry with the report of DeMar wanting to go to Lakers to divide the team. I don't think that's what it is. I think it really was the very first thing that hurt them was that Grayson Allen hit job on Caruso, where Caruso had to miss so much time. That really took their defensive mojo away. Caruso is their best defender. And then they were missing other important guys at different times too. And also, if Lonzo Ball would be around, this would help them immensely also. But Lonzo's not coming back. So it's really the injuries and the different things like that. They lost their defensive mojo when Caruso went out on that hit job from Grayson Allen. So I don't think that stuff has anything to do with it. Like that Lakers story that just came out recently about how Magic thinks that if they had signed him instead of Russell Westbrook, that the Lakers might be still in the playoffs and competing for the Western Conference Championship. Yeah, you know what? That woulda, coulda, shoulda. It didn't happen that way. LeBron's the GM. He's an idiot. And you know what? He probably should have taken DeRozan over Westbrook, but he fucked that up. And once again, we see that they're just a dysfunctional franchise and they have all kinds of problems. And now they're saddled with Westbrook and Anthony Davis. And like, they really don't have a lot of room to move around. So they're just going to be shitty again next year. Honestly, it's like not going to get any better for them. It isn't, because they're locked up with their dudes. And nobody wants Anthony Davis at this point. You couldn't fucking trade Anthony Davis and get anything of worth because he's damaged goods and nobody wants him. So it's like, and nobody wants Westbrook either because he looks like he's hitting his age and he's so important is his athleticism. He doesn't have it anymore. So he's like kind of like washed. He's washed. Westbrook's washed and damaged goods, and it's just how it is. It's just going to be how it is. I'm sorry, Laker Nation. You got to wait for LeBron to leave and maybe retire before you're going to be able to start building towards winning again. It's not going to happen with LeBron around. I'm sorry. It's just not. He's too much of a meddler. He's got too much of an egomaniac, and he's the worst kind of trendsetter for your team. He puts out the wrong vibe. He's going to sit in a game this past week where it really mattered for them to possibly still make the playoffs. He's going to sit that game. That just tells you all you need to know right there. So, yeah. Seymour Pape, salute Magic Johnson, LeBum, and the Fakers. Yes, Magic's a real one. I love Magic. Magic is a great Laker great. He's a winner. He's somebody who's important to that franchise. LeBron has hurt that franchise. He is not like Magic Johnson. So, yeah, that's what's going on there. Darren's saying stupid Pistons. We should be second seed. So he's still blaming the Pistons because they kept beating us this year. That's why we're not higher in the playoffs. Yeah, it is what it is. You know, well, hopefully the Pistons can do us a solid and beat the Sixers this weekend. I want to see that. Banana Bread Tan saying Wilt is better than LeBron. Yeah, Wilt Chamberlain. I would put him on the GOAT list above LeBron. He won championships with Philadelphia. He won championship with the Lakers. You know, he's a real deal. He scored 100 points. I mean, people are going to look at LeBron's statistics as an individual and like, that's fucked up. You know, Michael said that he never played for his individual stuff. If he was worried about individual stats, he would have retired and he would have kept playing and he would have tried to go for Kareem's record, which Michael could have easily tried to do if he had actually hung around and played a full career instead of retiring for some years and all this kind of stuff. So it's like he played for his team to win, and that's why he's a great. That is why Michael's the greatest of all time. LeBron was more worried about his own stats. He's sitting out against big opponents because he knows his stats won't be as good. There's all kinds of dumb little manipulative ways that LeBron tries to manipulate his own stats for his own benefit. And that is by ducking good opponents that he knows will shut him down and stuff like that. You don't want that kind of guy leading your team because he sets the tone all the way down through every single player, all the way down to the bottom of the bench. So, all right, let's see. Tom Duke saying, I think everyone here wants to stay here. I hope so. I hope that the people that are involved in the Raptors are very happy with their jobs and that they're not, you know, I think that time where people could have been enticed away was a couple years ago. And now that that's over, that's not going to happen. So let's see. What else is you guys saying? Alicia Spence. Good to see another new name here this morning. LeBron always wanted to be a celebrity, and that's it. It's so funny how his legacy has ended. It is really weird and kind of sad in some ways. Like, I wish somebody in his inner circle could have gotten to him and taught him a little bit better about how to be more mature, how to be more grown up in certain areas of his life. That really, when you get so coddled as such a young person that you don't have any naysayers, you have blind spots in your own personality and the way you conduct yourself. that if somebody could have done that for him, it would have been a big service to him as far as how he's carried himself in his career, especially in this late part of his season now. Because listen, you're at the almost at the end of your career, and you're showing immaturity that's less mature than a guy who's 20 years old named Scotty Barnes. Like that dude is more mature and astute as a pro in some ways than LeBron James, and that's really an interesting thing. That there's a certain level of maturity and grown upness that Scotty Barnes has that LeBron James does not have. And that's crazy to me, because how many years has LeBron been in the league? It's just he's gotten too big for his own good in his own head. And that's a really big part of it, Alicia. I agree. It's crazy. I wish I knew what Kareem was saying here, because he always has something good to say. Duke Rocks is saying, since the Raps fan is so large, you have a ton of American content for views, especially on YouTube. I think this is a good thing, because I'm noticing more and more respect for the Raps fan base. Well, they should respect us. We travel really well. We come to every single arena. We make it loud. If our team is winning in their arena at the end, we're chanting, "Let's go Raptors" at the end of the game. So this is a really good thing that like our team fan base travels. So there's somebody outside with a fucking phone ringing right now. Hey guys, I'm recording in here. If you could take it somewhere else. We travel really well. They should respect our fan base. I mean, we go right into Detroit and we take over their building when the borders open and stuff like that. So yeah, they should respect YouTube people and different people, experts in the NBA and the US and stuff like that. They should respect Raptor Fan Nation for sure. Alicia's saying also, so true. I love the Raptors and just found your channel. Thanks. Well, I appreciate it, Alicia. I'm here every morning, some point between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. I will do a live stream talking about daily Raptors content. And I really appreciate more and more people finding me. Please hit that red subscribe button. And I promise I'll be here every morning. You can come and talk to us tomorrow. We'll be previewing the last game of the season against the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. All right, y'all, I'm not going to go much longer here. There's some people here that I think it's my super, and he's doing some shit outside my door. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. Also, I'm not feeling that great because of the COVID still. So, all right. Thanks for being here. Great win by the Raptors. Very professional to make sure they won, even though they played shitty at the beginning and they got down big early. They made sure they came back. Okay, we got a couple people jumping in right at the end. Duke's saying, I mean, our fan base is so large that content producers are putting out a ton of content. Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, besides me, Luca, the Raptors Digest kids, or Will Lou, there's so much out there, and it is really good. Because there is enough people that around the world that are interested in. I appreciate that, Duke. That's for sure. Kiefer Spence, another new name. Good to see you. Yeah, Raptors have a certain mentality. It takes a certain type of character to play on the team that gets no respect from the league. Go Raps. All right, we'll leave it on that note, guys. Thanks for being here. I'll see y'all tomorrow. All the best. Have a good one, Banana Bread Tan. Thanks, Tom Duke. Thanks to Alicia, Kiefer, Duke. Everybody who came in this morning and we reviewed things. I didn't even really go over the box score, but we kind of talked about everything pretty much for a good part of the thing. All right, guys, have a good Saturday, and I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Let's go Raptors. Oh yeah, baby.